Hey guys, Dom here, back again with another Bethesda video. Now, over these last few months, I've been diving into Bethesda game studios as a business and how Bethesda as a developer and a publisher have gone from being one of the best in the industry, with game-changing titles like Fallout 3, 4, and The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim hitting true critical acclaim, earning the company billions of dollars, cementing Todd Howard and his team into several Game Makers Hall of Fame. Now, aside from Todd Howard's team at Bethesda Game Studios, Bethesda became one of the biggest publishing powerhouses in the industry, bringing beloved industry franchises to the forefront like Arcane Studios' Dishonored, id Software's Doom 2016, Wolfenstein, and much more. And with each one of these titles becoming huge fan favorites, Bethesda Softworks were taking home a plethora of awards year after year. And it was clear to see that Bethesda as a publisher and a developer were at the very top of the industry year in and year out. And with everything they touched, success was sure to follow, with fans and developers alike. That was until around 2016 where we started seeing huge changes as to how the company as a developer and publisher shifted from a more fan-friendly company to more of a, shall we say, a more monetary-based business. Now, I do go over these events and the real reason Bethesda have changed so much over the years in a previous video of mine, and how parent company ZeniMax Media over the last few years have enforced these changes, to which if you want to check out that video, I will leave it linked down in the description below. But short story, after the success of Fallout 4 in 2015, a large portion of ZeniMax Media was bought out from a major private investor, as ZeniMax are privately owned unlike most gaming companies, meaning that wealthy investors can change and demand more from the company they've invested in, and with that ZeniMax and CEO Robert Altman enforced developers to include marketplaces and microtransactions for the company to sustain a more frequent income instead of waiting for a large payout from games like Skyrim or Fallout 4 every 3 to 4 years, which then led to the creation of Bethesda's first online Fallout title, Fallout 76, to be fast-tracked whilst Todd Howard's main team was working on their next-gen adventure, Starfield, to which 76 was met with huge backlash, not only for the fact that it was the first online-only Fallout title, but the amount of embarrassing issues it had on release were monumental. Not only was 76 unstable, but Bethesda included within this Fallout entry a full marketplace known as the Atomic Shop, filled with unique or cosmetic items that were frankly overpriced and a far cry from Bethesda's former selves. And since then, Bethesda's reputation has seriously taken a nosedive, prompting players to lash out at the mere mention of the company. Now, this is something I see quite a lot here on this channel. As a Bethesda focused channel, even the mere mention of something I cover quite a lot here on this channel, say Starfield, any positive information or news on Bethesda's next game is always met with some sort of comment on Bethesda's downfall or the state of Fallout 76, and even how I shouldn't be excited or how I shouldn't feel a certain way. Now, for the record, no, I do not play Fallout 76. It's one of the main reasons I don't cover Fallout 76 on this channel. It's because I don't enjoy the game, and for me, when I received Fallout 76, I felt like I was forcing myself to love a game because of its franchise, and in the end I just couldn't do it anymore and abandoned all hope of me playing the title again. But it did get me thinking and wondering if Bethesda's reputation can ever return to the way it once was, and what would Bethesda need to do in order to win back said fan base. So today I wanted to open up the discussion for just that. What would Bethesda need to do in 2020 to help restore some of that reputation lost over the last few years? Now, for me, if I were Bethesda, I'd realistically start with the obvious, Fallout 76. Starting with the fact that Bethesda really need to put their all into Wastelanders if they want this game to survive. As from what we've been told, Wastelanders will completely change 76 as it returns to Fallout's roots with, in quotes, interesting NPCs, a new storyline, and a return to Fallout 3's dialogue system and choices. As I previously mentioned in my last video, the future of this online title, and honestly Fallout's reputation, all hangs in the balance of this brand new rehaul for Fallout 76. Because let's face it, Fallout 76 has to be Bethesda's least popular title since the Elder Scrolls Redguard adventures, a game that nearly sank the company. So again, it seems like history is repeating itself, where Bethesda have expanded its development studios and products and games are just being being released with BGS's stamp on it that are a far cry from their former selves, due to ZeniMax's pockets wanting to grow deeper. So to start this year right, Bethesda need to put their all into this Fallout rehaul, not only with its gameplay but with its monetary practices as well, as not only were there $7 fridges or overpriced outfits last year, but one of the biggest issues was Bethesda's price point to sell one of the most requested options for Fallout 76 since its release, private servers. This led fans deeper down a worrying path as to where the company was heading for. Again, a choice clearly made by Robert Altman and parent company ZeniMax Media to bleed out Fallout and its limited 76 fan base for all it's worth, knowing full well that this was the game's biggest request, selling it for over $100 per year, looking at services like Game Pass and Netflix as a service model. So if I were Bethesda, I would push back on decisions like these from ZeniMax Media, as this is killing the limited fan base this game already has. Now I get it, servers need to be paid for, but why not drop the price to say, look, $5 to host your own server? Again, while I don't play the game, realistically, I'd say $5 is a more than reasonable price. Now, I know for a fact that Bethesda are looking at the service charge for a game like The Elder Scrolls Online, but there's a huge difference with The Elder Scrolls Online, and that is if you buy ESO Plus, you gain every piece of DLC, every expansion and more included within that price point. So with ESO Plus, you gain access to the first game and all of its DLC. You gain access to Morrowind and all of its DLC. You gain access to Somerset and all of its DLC. Elsewhere and all of its DLC. The list goes on. You have to remember that these expansions are fully released games in their own right, with each expansion releasing entirely fully realized maps, each lending you hundreds of hours of gameplay just within each expansion, whilst Fallout 76 is charging you the same price to play the same map you already have over and over just on their own. There's no incentive to explore or experience wholly new regions or areas, quests, factions, etc, etc. So Bethesda, you need to work on these type of practices and reject this sort of service-based microtransactions unless it's actually beneficial to the players. Now, moving away from Fallout 76, because honestly I could be here all day complaining about it, but the next main step that I think would put Bethesda back in the good graces of their fan base is catering to their main single player audience. Now, for me, I believe one of the main reasons most players have drifted away and started to resent this company is because of this issue, seeing as the last single player game from the studio was 5 years ago with Fallout 4, and with that a lot of players just feel shut out as they no longer connect with the company or experience they once loved, their single player worlds. Now, while we know Starfield is coming from Todd Howard's team, a completely new single player title likely coming in the fall of 2020, I think a good marketing move for Bethesda Game Studios before this would be to remaster or re-release an improved version of Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas. Again, this has been a major request from Bethesda's community for years now, and for me, I believe this would be a perfect time for Bethesda to re-release these classic and beloved Fallout titles, again catering to that single player audience. Now, for me, I'd just be happy with an improved Switch version of these games, as let's say a bundle package for both Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. I mean, it's possible and wouldn't even be that hard for the company to port, seeing as games like Obsidian's The Outer Worlds and CD Projekt Red's Witcher 3, both huge titles that were revealed to be coming to the Nintendo Switch just last year, and now with rumors of Red Dead Redemption 2, a monumental title in terms of its size, intelligent AI, accompanied by a living, breathing world, also being announced to be brought to the Nintendo Switch. A game of that size and scope being brought to the Switch should show Bethesda how easily it would be to port those older Fallout titles to the Nintendo Switch. Again, this would be a huge kind gesture to the fanbase and would put them back on the path to recovery. Now, my next point kind of ties into those older titles, and that would be the controversial Creation Club, the first sign of ZeniMax's management change back in the fall of 2016, a system in where Bethesda would hire a separate modding team outside of Bethesda Game Studios to work on and sell official mods made and published by the company for Fallout 4 and Skyrim, to which game was met with huge backlash, which led to Bethesda not really focusing on quest/DLC sized entries for Creation Club, mainly just cosmetic pieces and unique items that could be sold throughout those older titles. And it's only recently that Bethesda have dived into actual somewhat worthwhile DLC sized pieces for Creation Club, creating pieces and quests around older games like Fallout 3's GNR Plaza, the Elder Scrolls Redguard adventures, and a fully sized DLC quest for Skyrim based around Oblivion's Shivering Isles DLC. And while it was a fun look at what some of those older locations could look like if they were remastered, again the price point of some of these experiences were a little steep for what you get within the actual content of the DLC. Not over the top, but still, if I were Bethesda, I'd kind of rein in some of those price points to actually match the actual content within those pieces. Although with Creation Club, I'm not entirely sure just how it works when it comes to pay, as again these pieces of work are published by Bethesda, but they aren't created by them, but by an outside team who works for Creation Club. As again, I'm not too sure if a larger portion of the money made on each mod goes directly to the mod author, so perhaps that could explain the pricing of Creation Club a little bit. But as I stated, some of these latest pieces of content are definitely the best pieces we've seen when it comes to this platform, with extensive quests and the recreation of some of these more detailed locations. It's just Bethesda need to adjust the price point drastically when it comes to Creation Club. And now finally, my last point I need to make in order for Bethesda to regain some of that good faith from its fan base is that Bethesda need to 100% nail their next single player experience, Starfield. As previously mentioned, Fallout 76 has seriously damaged Bethesda's reputation. But with that being said, Todd Howard's core team in Rockville, Maryland haven't put out a game since 2015. So the final judgment for the majority of Bethesda's fan base has been reserved for the company's next main single player experience, Starfield. Although with seemingly monthly issues regarding the state of Fallout 76, it has left people very skeptical regarding the development of Starfield and the state it will be on release. But from what we have been told by Todd Howard himself, the game is being developed with brand new technology developed for Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6, using full motion capture and photogrammetry. And while this is a great change for Bethesda, again, this game needs to be fully ironed out before release, because if this game lands and it's a buggy mess, I think this will be the last straw with a lot of Bethesda's fan base. The game also needs to include an essence of Bethesda's former selves, with interesting quest lines and a larger focus on role-playing mechanics, not only to fit around a narrative, but to fit around who a player wants to become or what they truly want to do within said game. Factors that were once a staple of older BGS titles. Remember, great games aren't made, they are played. And that is because it is up to us, the player, to decide what or who we want to be or exist as within these worlds. Now, I'm sure I've missed out some other issues that could be changed, but I think if Bethesda address these issues here, I believe this will put Bethesda back on the former path and in the good graces of their fan base. But these are just my ideas. What do you guys think Bethesda would need to do to put the company back in the good graces of their fan base? Or is it too late at this point? Let me know in the comments down below. Best ones get featured in the credits of these videos, and if you liked this video, hit that on that like and subscribe button, and as always,
this is the tone, just to, you know, this is what it feels a little bit like.